I've made over $10 million online. My clients average $153,000 a month as of the recording of this. And there are 8 very specific commitments that I take my clients through and that I've noticed after working with some of the biggest names in the industry like Brandon Carter, Dan Henry, Ravi Abuvala, Justin Saunders, Elliot Hulse, Eli Wild, Victoria Kennedy, Casey Shipp, everybody who's reached that high 7, 8-figure level, they all have made these commitments. So in this video, I'm going to share with you what those 8 commitments are. And if you make them today, you will be at least on your fastest path to getting past your current plateau, getting to 7 or 8 figures, or even beyond if you try to take it to that point. And most of the stuff that I shoot is in the office, but I've been highly encouraged to use the assets that I have, like the fact that I was able to buy this home and this car as a result of these principles, as well as grow my wealth at the same time. And it's because of these 8 commitments. So commitment number 1 is commitment to truth, especially with yourself. I would say the majority of just people in general on earth lie to themselves, and they're trying to maintain living in a delusion that keeps them feeling safe, although it prevents them from actually making progress. What I've found is that the people that lie to themselves about where they are, or they're afraid to look at where they are, and they're not aggressively seeking out the limitations and the lies that they're telling themselves to change that story, is because of an insecurity, and they feel guilty about lying to themselves. And so this is why affirmations don't work, is if you lie to yourself in the mirror, all you're going to feel is the fact that you're lying to yourself, and you're basically affirming that you're a liar. So we need to ruthlessly commit to truth. Jack Welch, the founder of General Electric, says in his book Winning that one of his biggest values is radical candor, and that would be with other people. But if we're seeking truth, we should seek it with ourselves and everybody on our team, our clients, and that's why my clients pay me. If you watch, for example, the testimonial that Elliot Hulse gave me in our little testimonial interview, he said, nobody calls me out on my shit. Nobody is actively trying to seek the truth. And he's like, I need that. Everybody's afraid to call me out. And not that I'm trying to call people out. I just look at objective reality. I look at the truth. I look at the data. And I say, well, the reality is, I don't care how many views you have, subscribers you have. I don't care how good you say you feel. Let's look at the objective reality and seek that truth. Doesn't matter if you feel thin, if you weigh 800 pounds, doesn't matter how you necessarily feel at that point. So we got to look at objective reality. And this isn't like a nice to have. This is a commitment, which means we're cutting off from all other options. We're committing to seeking the real objective reality. Commitment number 2 is committing to full responsibility. And that's full responsibility for everything. I'm talking something happens on the other side of the planet that you seemingly had no affiliation with, you had nothing to do with it, and it's a disaster. If you take the ownership of I caused it, that is a huge, enormous taking of ownership. And most people are looking for reasons why something out there is preventing them from being where they want to be or where they say they want to go. And so if you just acknowledge the fact and take on that, okay, if this happened, a car crashed in Montana, I caused it. And so from that point, we want to make sure that we're maintaining cause over life rather than being effect to life. And so many people, especially the more successful that they get, especially smart people, they find really creative reasons to maintain being effect to something out there, or being effect to their own, oh, it's my ADD, so I can't do anything about it. Oh, it's my bipolar. Oh, I just get anxiety. Oh, that's just the way I am. Well, no, it's not. That is just a story, and if you're effect to it, then okay, cool, you're fucked. Nothing you can do. But if you're cause over it and you decide that you can change anything at will, you decide that you are causing everything, you're creating your own reality. Now you actually have a chance at doing something to change, perhaps you might want to refer to it as the code of the matrix. If you don't believe that you wrote the code, that you have access to the code, that you can change the code, then the matrix isn't going to change. Your reality isn't going to change. And so taking full responsibility is a number one priority, even if you've been screwed over by somebody else. Somebody else did something that fucked something up. It's like, well, you put yourself in the situation to be susceptible to that happening to you. If it was a business partner that fucked you over, well, you decided to go into business. You decided to partner with them. You didn't take the time to learn or understand or apply what you already knew in terms of choosing people. And if you did, then you misapplied it. That that type of mentality is the only way that you're going to be able to impinge or push on life instead of life pushing on you. And most people are afraid to make that commitment because we have all these past experiences where we've been given responsibility and we've mishandled that responsibility, and it's led to pain, and we made these subconscious decisions that, oh, I shouldn't have that type of responsibility anymore. So I lay that whole thing out inside the 7-Figure Mind Method book. You can grab that in the link in the description, but it walks through exactly everything that's going on in the mind that causes all of these decisions that we make to essentially subconsciously affect what we do moving forward. It's about how to move from effect to the mind, effect to life, effect to the business, to cause over the mind, to cause over life, to cause over the business. And when you're at pure cause, when you're at pure responsibility, that's when you can really actually change and manipulate, which, by the way, manipulate, the people are like, oh, you don't want to be manipulated. I don't want to manipulate people. Well, by definition, manipulate means to handle skillfully. So get good at manipulating your world to form it however you deem fit. The analogy that I like to use is basically life is like clay that never dries. It's kind of like one of those pottery wheels, right? You have this thing spinning around and you're constantly molding and shaping it. And you might get it to a point where you're like, yeah, this is pretty legit. The problem with the clay of life is that it never dries. And so as soon as you take your hands off, it keeps spinning. And what happens if you keep it spinning with your hands not continuing to shape it, being cause over it, is it starts to wobble, it starts to misshape, and it starts to fly all over the place. And that is the majority of people's lives and businesses. So we need to maintain cause over this thing and continue to shape it the way that we want it. And we can't do that if we're like, oh, the wheel's just going too fast. I don't like clay. I don't like to get my hands dirty. I never learned clay. Whatever it is that you're saying you're effect to right now, we need to move to cause over it. And that's exactly what the 7-Figure Mind Method is designed to do. Commitment number 3, and it is right off of the back of this, is committing to master your emotions and being in control of your emotions. Emotions are tools. They're not something that just fleets all over the place that we're just like, oh, that's just a random thing. No, emotions are tools, just like a hammer, just like a saw, and there's a scale, and there's a predictability of this scale, and there's a way of moving from effect to emotions and having them just happen to you to cause over the emotions. And when you get to complete cause and control over your emotions, you effectively have what I refer to as mental freedom, and that is releasing at will any of the stressors or any of the things that are in your way currently and not getting affected by the things that happen out there. Tai Lopez recently made a video talking about the greatest skill that an entrepreneur can have is to develop the ability to not be bothered by anything. So unbothered, unfuckwithable. It's having life come at you and not be emotionally affected by them. Not only that, in order to influence others, we need to meet them where they're at. So if they're in fear, we can't be afraid to go down that emotional tone scale into fear in order to bring them up. And so if we're not afraid to go all the way down and, let's say somebody's really depressed and down and heavy, right? We can't be afraid to go down there to bring them up. And it's why we need to do this in our sales and our marketing. But if we're constantly effect to these emotions versus cause over the emotions and are able to manipulate these emotions so that we can bend the physical universe to what we want it to look like, then there's zero chance that we're going to build something that is under control. And so most likely, if you are on the revenue roller coaster at the moment, most likely you're also on an emotional roller coaster. There's a direct correlation between the two. And both of those can be absolutely taken under control, but first a commitment needs to be made to master and have full control over your emotions and not let your mind tell you that you can't do it, because it's absolutely possible. And that is one of the main foundations and commitments that we do with our clients, because I can give you the best business advice in the world, but if you freak out at the first sign of uncertainty, you get pissed off at your team when they fuck up during training, you're just not going to be able to handle that type of pressure at scale. Therefore, you will not be able to scale to that level where that pressure will even show up. And so you'll essentially sabotage yourself and prevent yourself from getting there because you know that you can't handle it at that level. But if you do something like our 7-Figure Mind Method or something that really allows you to exercise gaining control over your mind, over your emotions, you're ahead of not just 99%, but like 99.9% of everybody else. Next commitment is commitment to financial mastery by taking control of your business KPIs and your business finances. As I mentioned, if your income is on a roller coaster right now, you're probably also feeling like you're on the emotional roller coaster. And that's because if you don't know exactly where you are and you don't know exactly where you're going and you don't know whether you're on course or off course, of course you're going to be making gut decisions that take you weaving and bobbing in between random obstacles that you may not even need to encounter in the first place if you actually had the objective map. So with my clients, we get very, very clear on exactly the destination and reverse engineer their ideal business, their ideal income, their ideal lifestyle, and a timeline all the way back to where they are today, so that just like a GPS, if I open my phone and I plug in a destination, it's going to reverse engineer with a nice blue line turn-by-turn instructions. The same thing can be done for the type of life that you want to live, the type of business that you want to have. So imagine your goal is to get to Miami, Florida. Well, if you don't have a GPS, you're going to only rely on your gut feel. My question to you is, how confident are you relying on your gut feel or having a vague idea of what state you're in or what road you may be on? Which one of those gives you your best opportunity to actually end up in Miami? Feeling your way or having a GPS exactly tell you what to do turn by turn along the way? Obviously, having a GPS. So if you don't have a very clear understanding of your financial numbers, the financial rules to follow, your business KPIs, and you don't know where you are or where you're going, and you're vaguely feeling around, and you're choosing your strategies and what to focus on next based on the next ad you saw, that's like deciding your directions based on the billboards on the side of the highway. It's obviously not going to lead to a very good situation. So you need to have absolute control and you need to commit to mastering your numbers. If you're not committed to mastering your numbers, you're not serious about hitting 7 figures, straight up. And so for a lot of people, they have no control over their emotions, even though they say they do. Yet when it comes time to actually talking about numbers, they go, ooh, I'm not a numbers person. Ooh, I don't want to look at my bank account, my finances. Ooh, it's going to be ugly. Well, that's that emotional lack of control that's preventing you from confronting the truth that we talked about in commitment number 1. And that truth and commitment to radical understanding of exactly where you are and control over your emotions so that you can confront exactly where you are. Now you can start to navigate. So we got to commit to financial mastery by mastering our numbers, period, full stop. Commitment number 5, commitment to ruthless management of one's time. And if you want ruthless type of results, you have to be ruthless. That doesn't mean mean or anything like that. It just means you have to be very serious about your boundaries. The only reason why you wouldn't be time blocking, the reason that you wouldn't be delegating, the only reason that you would be doom scrolling instead of doing what you know you should be doing is because of the stuff that we talked about in the first few commitments. Is you aren't tracking your numbers, so you don't know what actually to do next and you're guessing. And deep down you know that that's probably not the right thing to be focusing on. And then you have all of the emotional feelings around that that make you feel worse and worse and worse and more guilty, let alone having the guilt that you carry with you when it comes time to saying no to doing a family engagement or saying no to doing a client thing or saying no to anything, is you have fear of letting people down. And so we got to clear that. And so long story short, we need to find where are the inefficiencies. Are you spending time on income generating activities and future income generating activities? To what degree? Are you focusing on the right bottleneck in your business? Are you delegating all of the things that are below your current hourly rate? Or are you afraid to let that go? Do you have humans doing things that a machine could do, that AI could do? Have you created systems and leverage for yourself? Are you or your team doing manual repetitive tasks? All of these things add up. So we need ruthless commitment to blocking and delegating and creating time. Again, we want to be cause over time, not effect to time, because it's absolutely possible to control time. You just have to first decide that you can, not be afraid of that type of control, and understand how to actually manage control so you don't mismanage it and create a new situation in your life where you've now mismanaged yet another thing that'll create another stored memory that then needs to be cleared so that you can then get back to feeling comfortable having control again. Commitment number 6 is committing to making yourself known and serving the world. So despite the fact that I don't really want to be filming content today, it's not like the top of my list. I know that there are principles that if I get them to you, you will at least least have a thought of maybe I should use these principles. And I know after working with over 1,000 online business owners over the last 6-7 years, after making $10 million on my own, helping people go to 100K, 200K, 500K, in a couple cases over $1 million a month, just by installing some of these principles and frameworks, I know that if I withhold them, I know that I'm ultimately going to kind of take myself down, knowing that I have something of value and I'm not sharing it. That is effectively, the sin is on me. So if you have something of value and you're not sharing it, despite the fact that it might not be perfect, that it might not be exactly how you wanted to say it, the fact of the matter is, if you're not out there serving the world, making yourself known, nobody can find out about who you are. Therefore, nobody will buy your stuff. So if you want people to buy your stuff, you got to make yourself known, you got to add value, and you got to put yourself out there. So we got to commit to making ourselves known and serving the world. Commitment number 7, committing to growth, expansion, and abundance only. That's really simple. There's only 2 directions in life. Things are either growing or they're dying. And obviously, I don't have to tell you that if you're committing to something that's smaller or downsizing, that is in the direction of downward or death. So commit to growth and expansion only, and only growth and expansion will happen. The only reason that you wouldn't do that is because it's scary, it's uncomfortable, you don't know exactly where you're growing to. But if you know exactly where you're growing to, why you're growing to that place, we take our clients through a process to define exactly where they're going, exactly why they're going there, and reverse engineer the whole thing, and we clear any emotional roadblocks that could possibly get in the way. The only thing left to do is follow that blue line. And finally, commitment number 8 is committing every day, whether you feel like it or not. There are certain responsibilities that we have as CEOs, as business owners, as parents, as people that are leading other people. We have to be the example. And doesn't matter how you feel, you gotta show up and do what you know you gotta do. Do what the data says to do to grow. We have a responsibility to grow. The physical universe where we live only pushes us in one direction, and that direction is growth. And it is uncomfortable, which is why we need tools and processes like this 7-figure mind method, so that we can clear that resistance that keeps us from proceeding forward at the rate that we know we should. So if you want me to help you install all of the protocols that allow you to make those commitments and actually keep them, so that all of your knowledge actually works, where everybody else is just teaching more tactics and hoping to God that they can capture a little quick win, we're building for long-term wealth building and mastery. So if that sounds interesting to you, find me on Instagram, DM me the word bulletproof, and my little automation will send you all of the details of how we work with clients in order to do that. Or you can just watch the video that YouTube has served up for you right here next, and I will see you in the next one.